Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. Wow, this is my 100th podcast. I enjoy writing so much, and this gives me a platform to share my thoughts. Thank you so kindly for your encouragement and listening ears. As a storyteller since the early 80s, I've told many stories hundreds and hundreds of times, and I still learn from them. So thank you for letting me come into your home, your car, your office, and your lives. John Gordon is an inspirational speaker who, over the years, has encouraged people to choose one word to live by for the next year. Starting in December, he tells his listeners to think about what their word for the year might be. You have to be patient, he says, and wait for it to come to you. I've done this for the past 5 years or more. And as a principal, I even had our staff find their word. We would make paintings of our word for our office or classrooms so we could see it and remember to think on it and notice what happens. The word begins to affect your life. This year, my word will be nudge. I wait for a nudge each week as I begin pondering the theme of this podcast. Since moving to Rochester, I've been waiting for a nudge to learn who I can become and what I can contribute to my new community. This week, in my morning reading, I received my nudge for this podcast in a quote by Mirabai Starr. She said, "Our task is to mend the broken world, but to mend this shattered vessel. How? Through every act of loving kindness, act of generosity, act of hospitality, offering ourselves even when it's not convenient or comfortable." The minute I finished reading this quote, I knew I had to write this podcast about my friend Kathy Jerome. It's as if this quote was written to describe this woman who has been my friend since college days in the 70s. I do not know how many times over the past 50 years I have said, "Kathy Jerome will give you the coat off her back if you needed it." She is so selfless in giving. She is truly that part of Mirabai's quote, offering ourselves even when it's not convenient or comfortable. Last May, we were in Australia for a convention, and our daughter called with a crisis. I knew Kathy Jerome would be the one I could call to go and attend to her needs. She did it without batting an eye. And later, I found she had some physical ailments that she was challenged with, but she never said a thing. She just did what she needed to do and where she was needed. Since retiring as high school secretary, she is out visiting and taking people to lunch who have struggled with health issues, mobility, loneliness, a host of reasons. But Kathy makes time in her schedule to help and do what she can to bring meaning to their lives, even when inconvenient or uncomfortable. When we were going to move, it was Kathy who could help our daughter better than anyone to prepare, pack, and eliminate. If you ever worked with anyone on the autism spectrum, that is not an easy feat. But because of Kathy's can do it attitude and unconditional love, Maria will do almost anything she says. What is her magic? How does she just do it in spite of her own health or time challenges? I have a hunch it has to do with the first part of Mirabai's quote. Our task is to mend the broken world. Altruism should be considered a holy word or description. Altruism is defined as unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others. Altruistic people often put the needs of others above themselves. Kathy's need to mend the broken world truly drives her altruism, her devotion to the welfare of others. Kathy doesn't need to be nudged. If she hears a need, she just does, jumps into action to attend to the need. Hmm. Thank you, Kathy Jerome, for being in our lives, for doing so much for Maria, for our family, for the community, even when it was inconvenient or uncomfortable for you. I've been waiting for the nudge to let me know what I can do for Kathy as a thank you for all she did to help us move our daughter to Rochester. I can't think of a tangible item that would express our thanks. But do you remember several years ago when a woman named Karen did something that put a derogatory focus on her name? Now you often hear, "Don't be a Karen." Well, Perhaps we can make a new trend to encourage people to seek places to offer help, kindness, time, and unconditional love, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, and call it Be a Kathy. Hmm. So this week, on your bathroom mirror, write, I will look for ways to be a Kathy. Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.